Hello YouTubers, this is a video on I was replacing the rear upper control arm for the Jeep Liberty. I've taken the old upper control arm out. As you can see here, it's pretty shot. Bushings are all gone. I was getting a wobble or a sway every time I would go around a corner. Someone had pointed out that these have gone, and I took it out. But it is a bit of a bugger to take out. Here's a new one by Moog. Has a lifetime warranty. It's exactly the same part. Half the price of what you'd get it for the Mopar part from the dealer. Now, the way to get it out, it's a bit of a bugger. But first of all, you want to jack up the vehicle from the transfer case. Okay, once you've jacked it up right there from the transfer case, then use your jack stands on a place not on the suspension, not on the rear control arm, but on the frame of the car, and of the Jeep. And what you want to do is use the highest setting you can, the highest you can put it, because that space there is you're going to be sitting in this space here. You're going to be crawling underneath in this space here. So the higher you can get it, the better it'll be on your back. Then what you want to do is the actual boomerang, the A-frame upper control arm, sits like that up to there, and then like this. So you undo a bolt here, which is no problem at all, and you undo a bolt on this side here. You undo a bolt on this side here. Now the problem with this side here is you have the heat shield for the exhaust. So the heat shield, what I found was a pain. It's in the way, but it is just a piece of metal, and what you really want to do is move that out of the way if you can, because the bolt is right here. In order to get your wrench in, or you could probably get your wrench in, but then the bolt is pretty long, so in order to take that out, you want to move this right out the way. So just bend it out the way. You can always bend it back and hammer it back in place later on. So that's what I found worked for me. That way the bolt will just come straight out. So what you want to do is loosen those bolts, loosen the bolt on the other side, and then you have one more bolt, which you'll see the hole for it right now, which is right there, which is a real bugger to take out. You have to take that bolt out, because that bolt sits along here, and so this will not come out until that bolt comes out first. So that bolt also, this is the bolt here. It has, if it's the original, or mine's an O2, but it has this retainer. This retainer was actually jammed into the transfer case. So first what I had to do, I got the nut off, put some liquid wrench and deep penetrating oil, and left it for overnight. So I managed to get the nut off, but I couldn't get this bolt out. This was like this, just jammed right into the transfer case. So what I did is, using a screwdriver, I first wedged this up. I tried to loosen this side, but as you can see, I did a bit of damage to the nut head, to the bolt head. And no matter how much I pounded, I could not get this nut out. So I tried various methods, and then I resorted to reading the instructions. And what the instruction says is, using a jack, lift the transfer case. So you jack up the transfer case, so that way I suppose there's less pressure on this bolt as it's resting right there. And then I still couldn't get it out no matter how much I hit it with the hammer. So I knew, and once you're in that crawl space, you don't get a lot of lever, you don't have a lot of room to really swing back the hammer to get to that spot there. You'll see it right there. That's where I'm pointing. You don't have a lot of room in here to really get your 4 pound or 3 pound hammer to start swinging at it. So what I did is I got this here. It's a 3-foot cold rolled sort of steel rod, and with this steel rod is I put it like this right here, as so, against the bolt. Lined it up as so with the bolt, and then on this side I could just pound it and hammer it as much as I could, and I started to see the bolt starting to come out. So that was the trickiest part. And then after that you just wiggle it, jiggle it. You have the brake lines which fit into these little loops, so you take the brake lines out from here, and then you wiggle, jiggle it and take the whole of the rear upper control arm out. And then hopefully you follow the reverse process to put it all back in. So what I'm going to do to put it in is I'm going to use the jack and lift up the transfer case. Sorry, lift up the lift up the vehicle from the transfer case. Put the ball joint in first. Put the bolt in, and then bring it down to put in the 2 bolts which fit in over on this side. So I'll let you know and see how that goes. Thanks. Here's just a quick interim video. It's a bit of a pain getting the new one in, but what you do, if I can just move that light, okay. First put these bolts in first. Put the bolt in on this side and put the bolt in on the other side, and then what you do is you use the jack to raise it from the transfer case. So you use the jack, and then what I'm doing is that ball joint, you can still, although it's stiff, you can still move it around a little, but you raise the jack a little. What happens is the whole of the axle, as it comes up, it starts to twist as well. So you try to raise it, line it up, and at the same time, over here I've got a strap, and with the strap you just do a few clicks at a time. Bring the upper control arm down. As you're bringing the upper control arm down, use the jack to bring the transfer case up, and again use your fingers to move the ball joint, and this way line them up. Once you've got it completely in, then you can put the nut in, and once the nut's in, you know it's not going to go anywhere after that. Okay, so getting the upper control arm in is not as easy as it may look on other videos. It's a real pain. Like I said, the best way to do it was to use the straps. That's what they do in other videos, so that's what I started doing. I was fiddling around with the straps, because when you put the strap around the control arm, you put the strap around the axle here, there's so little there's so little, it was very difficult to use the straps. What I did is I started to use the jack. So I was jacking the vehicle up from underneath, just under the differential there, and at the top what I would do is I would rest on here. I would rest on the upper control arm some blocks. I'll just show you 1 minute. So what I would do is, first of all, after having put these bolts in here, this one here and the one on the other side, so putting in the mounting bolts, Then in order to get the ball joint into that slot, I kept these bolts loose, okay, don't tighten them. And then what I did is I put a block of wood, one like that, and then on top of that one I put another one that way there. Now what would happen is, as I'm lifting the jack up, this reaches the top of the floor, the actual floor of the vehicle. And so as it reaches the top, as the whole control arm gets shifted up, it reaches the top, and then this can't go anywhere. It can't go any more up because this block is stopping it from going more up. So what happens then is the mounting bolt starts pushing into the hole, okay? But it only went so far. After that, no matter how much I started to jack it up, it started jacking up the whole vehicle. It started jacking up the whole vehicle, and it can get dangerous because then it was lifted actually higher than what I have these stands at. So that could get dangerous, so be careful if you're under the vehicle at the same time. So what I did then, when I realized it couldn't get any further, is in this gap here, there's a little, where this bolt fits, there's a little divider. What you can do is put a screwdriver in there just to open that gap up a bit more. You wouldn't be able to open it up this much anyhow, but it's still just to make sure it's loose. Then just spray all of it with liquid wrench, and just to make it as greasy as possible, as smooth, so it will slide in. And then that's when you lower the differential, lower the suspension to its lowest. I was struggling with this a lot because I had the differential, I had the suspension raised so that this bar was not at an angle but was level, but that didn't help it. No matter how much I used the straps, I couldn't get it in. But as soon as I lowered this, so I took the jack out from underneath here, and then I used this because I only had a little bit left. This bolt will not go in until it's seated properly. So then you use the straps, and with the straps you just yank it and yank it and yank it until it sits in, and then as soon as it sits in, then you put the bolt through. And then you tighten the mounting bolts mounting bolts are 74 foot-pound, and that pinch bolt is at 70 foot-pound. Torque those, put your brake cable back on. So these here, as they come in the box, they are facing downwards. So what you have to do is take them completely out, switch them around so that so put this left one on the right, put the right one on the left, so that when you fit them in this, the screw goes in and the hole goes in so that it actually points upwards. Then feed your brake cable through there, and then any cable ties as well. On the other side, I actually have the brake cable tied to something here, so I just did the same again. And then after that, and then that's it. Make sure you use anti-seize on all your bolts. So I put anti-seize on this bolt here, put anti-seize on the mounting bolt, you put anti-seize on the nuts, wherever it's going to rest against the bodywork, against these, not bodywork, these, the actual, where it's going to be mounted, put anti-seize on there, just so that if you do ever need to get in there again, it's not going to be difficult to get those rusted bolts out. And that's it. So I'm sorry this is not a step-by-step how-to video. I'm, as you notice, not very good with YouTube videos. I'm always cussing and as I'm doing this kind of work, so I probably won't make a good YouTube video anyway while I'm doing it, but I'm just letting you know my experiences. So if you use this video in conjunction with all of the other videos out there on how to do this, you know, you should be able to piece it all together and be able to do this job yourself. You will need 2 people. That's what I had my wife out to help me putting in this control arm. So you might need 2 people when you get this, because it's heavy and so on, and strapping it, and someone on the jack and someone on the straps. Someone, you know, eyeing it. Is it going right? And that ball joint can be moved a bit as well. It does have a little bit of play, so you can position it correctly. But anyway, so I hope this video helps if you are going to do this job yourself. Thanks.